Hi, I hope everyone has had an amazing Easter. Personally, I haven't done that much, maybe just a bunch of creative stuff, board games, obviously, lots of good food, and small walks, just chilling, relaxing, trying to get rid of the last bit of cold that I've been having for 3 weeks now. Anyway, today's video is going to be about hypothyroidism. So today it's exactly 2 years since I was diagnosed with hypothyroidism, and I thought I would share like the diagnosis history, a couple of symptoms you have to look for, and maybe a couple of tips in the end. So when I first started thinking that something was really very wrong was in the uh, mid-February 23. I had been really tired and drained for a while because I had like some negative situation going on in my life and problems with my car, problems at work, just a lot of things going on at once. So I just thought at like I felt tired because of that. But in the mid-February, I remember saying to my boss at the time that I just really need like a weekend off because I just feel so tired and drained. And she was really understanding. So I took a weekend off, not really doing that much because I thought to myself, if I just rest, relax, and do as little as possible, then maybe I'll just get better. But the following Monday, I wasn't really that much better. I still felt tired and drained and exhausted. And I remember thinking to myself, oh my goodness, I just feel so tired. And I looked at the calendar and I saw that, okay, I'll just hang on until Easter because then there will be a couple of days closed and I can rest and relax during Easter. That was like my initial little plan for myself, sort of say. But obviously that didn't happen because I continually progressed to get like worse and worse and more tired. I started feeling dizzy, and I remember feeling really stiff like in my hands and in my knees, and I was like, oh no, don't tell me I'm gonna like get old and have like bad knees and stuff. Because I remember feeling my knees were just so heavy and so like swollen almost, and I was like, oh my goodness. And I just felt so dizzy, and that's when I remember thinking something has to be really wrong. I there's no I was just 34 at the time, and I was like, I'm too young to get like old, you know what I mean? I hope you know what I mean. Anyway, I went to the doctors and she said that it was probably just spring depression, which kind of made sense in my head. I thought that with everything going on in my life, maybe that could be a reason. And she suggested vitamin D and a couple of other supplements, so I obviously tried everything. But during March, it was just starting to get slowly like worse, so I kept going back like to the doctor, like, listen, this and this is going on, describing all of my symptoms, but obviously he wasn't really listening to me. Thought it was just depression. And if you're a doctor out there, please just listen. We women knows ourselves the best, and it's not that big of a deal to just run a test. Come on, that should be like mandatory. Just run a test. Anyway, rant over. During April, I just got so ill. So I then, by just demanded really harshly that I needed to just get a test. And I also asked for a sick leave because it just got like really ill. But obviously, I didn't get that because she didn't believe me. And but she still took like a blood test, and she took like the heart electro thing you put on the body everywhere. She checked my blood pressure, everything was checked, that day, and eventually I finally got the diagnosis, and then finally I was believed that there was something wrong, and I started medication like a week later. But I remember it was just an awful experience, and I ended up staying on sick leave for 6 months because I could barely walk. At one point I had to stumble across everywhere I was trying to walk, and people that have seen that can testify that that's actually the truth. I even had, I don't even know why I was going to dance arrangement, but I had to basically almost be carried um, from the floor back and all the way. um, it's a little bit of a fun thing to think back on, but yeah, that was happening that year, and I was struggling a lot that year. And looking back, thinking, I realized that I've been ill longer than I originally thought. I think that I've been ill from like the autumn of 2022, because I do remember certain specific episodes when I just felt a little dizzy, maybe a little tired. But obviously, I'm not the person to run down a doctor's office. I'm not like the person that sit down and like really like feel bad for myself, because I like to just do stuff all the time. And I obviously thought it was because of other reasons, like I said. So now I'm gonna mention a couple of symptoms that you should be looking for in hypothyroidism, at least for me. Tinglings in the hands, like, is something I still struggle with. Um, and obviously just tingling in my hands and feet, and sometimes I feel swollen and swelling, not right now, but sometimes my face tends to swallow, and my hands swollen and my feet swollen. And that's like some symptoms that I can still have on different days, and I sometimes can still feel a little bit dizzy and tired, and sometimes I swell in like the, I don't even know what you call the thyroid thing, um, but you know what I mean, hopefully. Sometimes it can swell, um, and I just had to learn to live with that. Um, and recently, I just been to the doctors because I have to go every like 6 weeks to get control, and my thyroid symptoms has been like really bad again, so I had to swap out medication again. I've been doing that for 2 years now, just increasing or changing and swapping around. And in my experience, for me, every time I've swapped or changed, it takes at least 2 to 3 weeks for my body to adjust. So in that time, I will have many strange symptoms, and I will be really tired, and my hands will be the thing that I feel really weak in my hands, and they will be more swollen. They are a little swollen now. I don't know if you can tell on camera. So I'm on like my week number 3 right now with a new thyroid adjustment. So I should be starting to feel better now, luckily. So that's why I haven't been as much active as I was hoping to be during like March and April, because that's been going on without me really knowing, because sometimes it's really hard to like know what's tired symptoms and know what's other things in life. So yeah, you just have to sometimes double check and get the doctor to take an extra blood test if you're unsure. That would be my tip. And now I'll talk about things that might trigger thyroid. And I think that the number one thing you should be careful with, stress. Stress is like the number one trigger for me. So if I constantly over worrying about something or stressing about something or rushing to something, that's when I would feel the effect later in my thyroid. So be mindful and aware of stresses in your life and try to avoid stressful situations, stressful relationships, stressful work, whatever makes you stressful. um so I definitely have like had like a period of time now where I just had to cut out things that would make me stressful and anxious, and it's still like a process. And number two is food and diet. So for me, and this is gonna be different for everyone, I have to be careful with caffeine, sugar, alcohol, um, and processed food. Those are like the four things I can think about right now that I have to be like a little bit more careful around than maybe the average person, and that can be hard, especially during Easter and other like holidays. But hopefully over time and as the years go by, I will eventually like get into that more and more. It's like my plan. And yeah, also another third thing is to get enough sleep and rest, and not like overdo a like physical activity. That is something that you should also consider. Allow yourself to rest and relax. um so yeah, those are kind of like the three things that I could think about right now that you have to think about when it comes to thyroid. I might make other videos about this in the future if I could think about something else that I could give tips about when it comes to thyroid. Anyway, I hope that this was helpful in some way or another, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!